Corrosion protection, that's a topic that all classic car guys are really emotional about. And so am I. The point is, you have to be a believer because the truth you will only know in 10 years from now. There is, however, one thing I'm absolutely sure about. A magic product that will put it right for you, it just doesn't exist. You have to go a long stony road to get there. The first part of this journey has already been released 10 months ago when I restored the fenders and everything beneath them. Part number 3, the door sills, and 4, everything behind the rear bulkhead will follow later this year. In most of the cases, if you find rust at one side of a panel, it is very likely that it is also affected at the other side. That's just a matter of experience. Now, in my case, the problems that I found were caused by 2 brackets under the car, one which is used to hold the fuel pump in place, and the second one which makes sure that the fuel lines are properly kept away from the steering gear. And that was the point when I decided to attack the problem at the roots and remove the entire steering system. I'm using Brunox here, which is a rust converter. The baseline of all those rust converters is to use phosphoric acid to convert the rust into a more stable chemical compound and take its granular powder-like structure and convert it in something like a stable layer. That, of course, does not mean that it's giving a good rust protection, but it's the base, and it's a good base for further work like painting it or whatever you decide to do. In that case, this Brunox, it incorporates the phosphoric acid in some epoxy, let me say, paint, and that makes it even a better base for further paint work. This fuel line bracket was rusted out so badly that I removed it entirely and created a new one from aluminium, which I'm going to show to you later on. This cover is not looking good at all, and neither does the junction of the brake lines. I think I will restore that or maybe replace it. The cover, I'm sure, will be zinc plated. Same with this brake connector, that doesn't look very good as well. This plug is to drain the smuggler compartment, and it obviously has gathered some humidity around it over the years, destroying the stone guard. Certainly needs some touch up. And here we have finally the mounts of the anti-roll bar that have some surface rust. Nothing serious, I suppose, but needs some renewal of paint and stone guard. Inside the smuggler box, I found these rust scars. Luckily, there are no holes yet. I think that was close. My next weapons of choice against rust are 2-component primer and body sealant. I always prime surfaces before I apply any other measure of protection, because the primer has the quality of attaching to the surface below in a very strong manner. Today's body sealants are PUR, polyurethane based, which means that they're going to stay flexible for very long periods. I use them when I want to bridge gaps or if I want to bring some flexibility into my layer build-up. I also do use synthetic rubber as a stone guard. I know this product doesn't have a very good reputation, but I think this is because people are not using it in the right manner. It attaches to the surface very strongly, but it doesn't go into gaps at all. So keep it away from gaps, because on top of a gap it doesn't have anything to attach to. If, however, you use it on even panels or on top of body sealant, it will create a very durable surface that can be painted and that will last for decades. I can still find rubber-coated surfaces on my 40-year-old 911 that are fabric fresh. Guess what? I like painted surfaces. And that is because they look good, but apart from that, they are resilient against all sorts of chemicals and UV radiation. And unlike oil or wax-based rust protection, you can just simply clean them. And that's a huge advantage, because rust, which is covered by dirt, is invisible. The color of my 76 Targa is oak green metallic, and metallic paint must have been something very expensive and very special back in the 70s. They haven't painted the inside of the trunk with the oak green metallic paint, but with some sort of greenish gray. And then, while they painted the body, they must have left open the boot lid, and some oak greenish mist reached the surfaces on the inside, which is giving that incredibly cool look. So I tried replicating this look by throwing some oak green mist on the still wet gray undercoat, and well, you decide, but I like the way it's coming out. The smuggler box back in the 70s wasn't painted at all. As such, it had, of course, a dip painting and some body sealant for the edges and corners. I upgraded it to the gray tone that I also used for the trunk with some green mist on top of it, because I just wanted to have peace there with corrosion for the years to come. You haven't seen me using any oil, wax, grease-based products so far. These products, as much as I'm concerned, they have one great advantage and one disadvantage. The disadvantage is that they collect over the years all the grime and dirt that the car picks up from the road. They get dark, they get filthy, you cannot see what's going on behind. It's very likely that you overlook corrosion. And if you remove it just a little, you can see that sort of rusty spots. On the other hand, they have one great advantage, and that is they are self-healing. If you have a scratch in a grease surface, or if it cracks up, the next time you expose the car to some heat, like in summer, it would just seal in again, and the protection is just as it was. You cannot get that with paint or any other product. So consequently, I do use oil, wax and grease-based products, but I prefer to apply them to the cavities and inner surfaces and try to avoid them as much as possible at places where the panels are exposed to dirt. I'm using a grease-based product here, which has a melting point of about 25 to 30 degrees. And that obviously allows me to cure the layer when I use the car in summer. There is one thing that really matters above all others: don't clog the drainage. Otherwise, you would just achieve the contrary effect of what you want. You would create rust rather than avoid it. So we have three cavities here, a lower one, a middle one, and an upper one. And I think it's basically a good idea to flood them all with some rust protection. The upper rear one, let's say between the shock absorber and the front bulkhead, in my case it was totally dry and not even dirty, so I waived sealing it in that case. There are another three cavities at the left side of the car. However, things are a bit different here because the design of the 911 is not symmetrical. The area under the battery platform is particularly important because it's a low spot, and all humidity that goes into the trunk at some point will gather there. Two more spots that you may wish to address, and that's the corners behind the fuel cell and the inside of the stabilizer bar mounts. Both of them, I suppose, are critical, so don't take it easy here. Finishing off with some sandblasting, zinc coating, and replacing the brake lines, and finally the aluminium bracket that I was talking about earlier on. Before you say the word contact corrosion, the ends were dipped into liquid rubber, so that's not a problem. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked my video, please tell it to the world. Share, like, subscribe. It would mean a lot to me.